So hi everyone, I'm just going to go through the answers firstly for page 6. Not too difficult a task this first one, exercise 1. You needed to draw a semi-breve, so a head without a stem between every line and every space. So you're working your way up there in sequence, like we talked about in the last lesson. I also gave you the wrong spelling of ledger, didn't I, last week? So it's L-E-D-G-E-R. Page 7, exercise 3. Now, it doesn't matter whether you're drawing them going upwards, so as in you're starting with the bottom stave, it's bottom line and working upwards, or working with the top line and working downwards. I'm ascending here, so I'm going to start on the bottom line of the stave, second line of the stave. Now, my third line, my middle line of the stave, remember, it can go either way. The stem can point up or down, so either of those is correct. And then your fourth and fifth line stems need to point down, so just make sure you've got the right direction. Remember, lines 1 and 2 stems go up, 3 either way, and 4 and 5 they go down. Similarly, every space this time, so it's where we would have the F-A-C-E face in spelling on that stave. So your sticks for down, your stems down, remember, for spaces above the middle line, and stems going up for those below the middle line. And finally, you had to draw the quavers, so it's really just remembering the stick direction. I'll send an image of these as well so you can have a look at them in the comments. So the next page was page 8. We did lots of discussing of how to draw this treble clef last lesson, so you only needed to draw the complete one, but here I am just breaking it down for you again. So remember your backwards C to start with, then you bend up to the top, your vertical line going down with the tail flick at the end, and make sure you do a few of those. So answers, made a mistake there. First one is G, followed by F, then E, C, B, G, D, and F. We're going to look at the bass clef now this week, and bass clef, really, as the name suggests, bass, we are going to look at the lower pitches. So this was a question that actually someone mentioned in the lesson last week. What happens when we run out of notes on the stave, but we have lower notes still to go on the piano? Well, this is why we have the bass clef. So the notes are rearranged into different parts on that stave to give us more space to write lower notes. So what I've done here is I've just written in the notes that we know from last week, and we're going to go from there. That first note, that important note we talked about, middle C. So middle of the piano, I'll just make it, colour it in there so it's a bit easy to see. It has the ledger line running through it. Obviously the note next door then is D, because we run up in sequence alphabetically. Now, in the bass clef, middle C, so that very same note looks like that. Okay, the clef, which you'll see in your booklet, is like a backwards C. It's a lot less elaborate than the treble clef symbol, okay? So you draw the backwards C and you put 2 dots, one either side of the fourth line, okay? Because that fourth line is where we indicate the F, okay? So just like the treble clef was called the G clef, because that first mark on the treble clef shows us where the G is, that fourth line up on the bass clef is called the F clef, and that shows us where the F is. So we're going to work downwards. So back to the top, middle C. So this is the same note as the note on the stave above, okay? But we're working downwards now because it's going to give us more room to write these notes. So B, A, G, F, and so on. So we still follow the same rules. We still label these notes in alphabetical order, A to G, then going back to A. But as you can see there, they're all in a different position. So if we look at it in a bit more detail, spaces to start with. A, C, E, and G. So they are the bass notes and how we find them in the bass clef. And then the bottom line, on the lines we've got G, B, D, F, A. And I've just included it there for reference as well, middle C. But how does that work and how do they sound? So I'm going to do them on the piano for you. So where are these bass notes on a piano? Well, we're going to work from middle C again. So there's my piano name. I'm looking at the middle of the piano. I'm finding my 2 black notes and my middle C, which is there. It's the white note, remember, between the two black notes. Now, we've looked at all the notes above, so those ones that I'm showing you there on the treble clef. But we're going to look at the ones going down below that middle C, travelling downwards like I've done there. Now, what I've drawn above is a bass clef, and I've stuck a stave on the piano, and it's showing you where the note that I'm going to play and where it is in relation to what you've drawn, okay? So, middle C, first note. So, going down from C, it will be the note B. And remember, the note B, it sits on top of that bass clef stave. Remember, just have a look at the top line, what I've stuck above the piano to show you, okay? So we're not working upwards from middle C, we're working downwards, because these are the notes that the men would tend to sing in music. And that's why male parts, tenor and bass most definitely tend to read bass clef. So the note below B is going to be A. A in the bass clef sits on that fifth line, as I've done in the drawing on the stave above, just to show you. So note before that is going to be what? It's going to be a G. And again, we're going down in pitch. G sits in the fourth space of the bass clef. Following the G is the note F. And remember, these notes are in exactly the same place as where they were last week. So F is still the white note before you get to the three black notes. It's just that we are looking at a different part of the piano, a different pitch of the piano, a lower pitch of the piano. So they look different on the music staves. In terms of hearing them, they would sound the same pitch, but there are what would be called an octave below. So they're 8 notes below. So an E still sounds like an E, and you'll be hearing them in the recordings. An E still sounds like an E, but it just is a different pitch. It's a lower pitch to the E that we heard last week. Below the E, we have a D. And then we're going to go as far as the note C today, which again will give us, like we said last week, it will give us an octave. So try and memorise those note positions if you can in the bass clef that I've stuck to the top of the piano to help you. So we've got a C and that C there, which is the middle C. So playing them, there's C, down to B, down to the note A, down to G, down to F, down to E, D, and the C below middle C, which is found in the second space of the bass clef. So we've looked at everything above. So recap from last week, this is how these sound. D, E, see if you can name them. Next one, F, G, A, B, C. So listen to how similar they sound to those bass clef notes that we've just done, but the bass clef notes will be a lower pitch. Coming down to B, A, see if you can name these notes again. G, F, E, D. Now we've written all of those in the treble clef so far. We're moving into bass clef now, so going down in pitch. B, A, and so on. So I wanted to end today on a really positive note and look at what we've learnt so far. What you'll need is the first image in the comments. That is the first page of the finale ultimo. It's You'll Never Walk Alone from the musical Carousel. So if you bring that up as an image, that's what we're going to talk about before. And I'm going to point some things out for you, just to show you what you actually already know. There might be some things on there that you aren't understanding what they actually mean, but don't worry, we will get to that at some point. So things that I want you to outline for you, to have a look at these, and if you want to print this off and circle them or make notes, then that's absolutely fine, but just having a look at the image will be enough. So as we look at the music, It says down the 4 staves, S, A, T, B. Soprano, alto, tenor, bass. Now you can see soprano is in treble clef, alto is in treble clef, tenor, I mentioned that might be in treble clef or bass clef. In this version, it's in treble clef, as you can see. Now, if you look at the treble clef for the tenor part, what's different about it? So you can see there's an 8 below that treble clef in the tenor part. The 8 means that actually the notes that they see and sing will sound an octave lower than what they're written. Okay, we'll get to that at some point later. So if you saw an E, they would sing the E, but it would sound an octave lower, obviously because they have a broken voice, a male voice. And the bass part is in that bass clef that we've been studying. Okay, so I'm going to do this in sort of questions as well. So if you want to pause the recording and just kind of try and answer them yourselves, and then I'll give you the answer straight afterwards. So we look at let's look at the soprano part to start with. We have that, if you can look at that 3 that's written above, all the parts have got 3 written on a big line on the stave. That means it's bars rest, so it's bars of silence. And what they're going to do there is have 3 bars of not singing. So that's what the 3 indicates, 3 bars of silence. We will talk about bars and rests in an upcoming lesson. Now, after the 3s, you will see there are notes and words in the soprano parts, okay? Before you get to those notes and words, you will see a little 5 near to the bar line. Now that means that small number gives you what bar number we are at. So this is bar 5, so it's the 5th measure, the 5th bar of music. If you just scooch down onto the bottom line, where we've got Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, look at the little 6 in the corner near the treble clef. Look at the 7 at the next bar line, and you've got your 8 and you've got your 9. So you've got bars 1 to 9 of this part of the song on this page. Okay, so that's what the little numbers indicate, what bar we are on. It's really good for rehearsals, obviously, and the musical director. So when they say things like, we're going to take this from bar 13, we're going to take this from bar 8, you don't have to count the bars from the beginning. It tells you, the little number will give you an indication to find it quicker. So let's have a look. Sopranos and altos. Just have a quick look at their notes for And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. Firstly, I want you to tell me what's similar or different about the soprano and the alto part for that line, And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. And also, what are the letter names of the notes that they are singing? And finally, what is the timing, the beats, the duration of the notes that they are singing? So I want to know what's similar or different, what the letter names of the notes are, and how long those notes are sung for. Pause this and then I'll go through the answers. So, answers. And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, the soprano and alto parts are exactly the same, okay? They are singing in unison, so what we call unison. So they are singing the same thing together at the same time. So if you look at the notes that they've each got, they're the same. What are the notes? So, and is the note E. Don't is an F. B is a G. Afraid is an F going to an E. Of the is a G, then an E, and then dark is a D. Now, you would be able to play that on a keyboard if you had one in front of you, and if you do have one in front of you, why don't you have a go and try and play it? Because all those notes, we looked at them last lesson, they're the treble clef notes, all above middle C, so you could have a go with that. How long do each of them last for? Well, and is a crotchet, isn't it? It's a coloured in head with a stem, so it lasts for 1 count. Don't is a minim. It lasts for 2. B and are crotchets, so 1 beat each. Afraid is a 2 beat count because it's a minim. Of the are a crotchet each. And then the word dark is a semi-breve. It's that head without stem, and then it's linked to a minim. Now, we're going to talk about this. I'm not going to do too much detail about it, but the word dark, it's got this line that connects those 2 notes together. It's called a tie. So we actually sing the first semi-breve and we hold it for the length of a semi-breve plus a minim. What's a semi-breve plus a minim worth? 6, yes? Semi-breve is 4, minim is 2. So we have dark for 6 counts. Okay, so carrying on. bar 9, if we look at the at the end of bar 9, you will see that the sopranos and the altos on lines 1 and 2, staves 1 and 2, start to do different things. So they sing the at together. The at is what note? It's a D. Okay, and then the altos, they sing that again. So if you look at the alto line, which is the second line down, at it's 2 Ds, so they don't change note once they've sung that. But the sopranos do. They sing an at with the note D, and then they go up to the note E. Okay, now just have a look at the bass part in bar 9. Now so far the basses haven't sung anything. There's no crotchets, there's no notes on a stave or space. They don't do anything on this page. The tenors don't do anything at all, standard. But the basses, they have 2 notes that come in bar 9. What have the bass notes, the 2 bass notes, got in common with the 2 alto notes? Have a think, look at them, pause this, and then find out the answer. So if you look at the bass notes, they sing the exact same notes as the altos, okay? Altos have got 2 Ds for at the. Basses have also got 2 Ds at the, okay? But the note D that they're singing, it's not the exact same pitch. The altos are singing the D above middle C that we did last lesson. The basses are singing the D below middle C, which is a lower pitch to the alto. So it's the same note, but at a lower and higher pitch, okay? Let's turn to the second image now. So if you go onto the next page, which has bar 10 at the start, and it's page 66 of the music, it'll be the second image. So if you just find that, you can see now that we've got some more of these harmonies going on. Okay, so you could actually take some time, have a look at this, and read those notes and try and name those notes. We're going to concentrate on the bass line just because we've started on treble clef today. So questions from bars 10 to bars 16. What are the notes that the bass is singing, and how many beats, how many counts do they last for? So bar 10, bass line. Very easy first few words. End of the storm is a, the note doesn't move. It doesn't move up or down the stave. So it's the note D, and it's the same note all the way through. End is worth a minim. Of the are crotchets, so 1 beat each. Storm is another minim, so a minim, 2 count. Is a, crotchets, 1 beat each. Golden, sky, the notes are F, F, D. Golden, 2 minim Fs, and then a D, which has been made into a crotchet there. Someone's drawn that in. And we have Ds again. So there's a lot of D singing on this bass part. And then, if you're the bass, ignore soprano, alto, tenor. They have for the note sweet, it's a D, it's a minim, it's worth 2. Silver, we're going down to 2 Cs, 2 crotchet Cs. Now the word song is a B. Now that little B sign that we see at the side of it, that's a flat. We will talk about that. That's a whole different lesson another day. So for all intents and purposes, it's a B today. It's actually a B flat, which we'll talk about next time. Of a, they are crotchet A's. And the last one for lark, it is a G, but you can see that thing that looks like a hashtag in front of it. That's called a sharp. We'll talk about sharps later as well. Okay, so you can spend some time looking through these parts, and actually I think you'll realise that you know more than you think you do. And we'll continue with this next lesson.
Just keep your faith and your courage. You'll come out all right. Like that song we used to sing every morning when I went to school. Maybe you still sing it, I don't know. When you walk through a storm, keep your chin up high. Know that one?
Believe him, darling. Believe. loved you, Julie. Know that I loved you.